The storm that tore across Ashford, Colorado, felt almost angry, ripping shingles from rooftops, shaking window frames, and drowning the night in thunder. But inside a rusted trailer at the edge of town, a much quieter, much more devastating storm raged inside a young man named Marcus Hale. His trembling hands hovered over a beat-up duffel bag, the last pieces of a life he had shattered, one bad decision at a time. Every slap of rain on the metal siding sounded like a reminder of every failure, every broken promise, every person he had disappointed. And for the first time in years, Marcus wondered if a person could fall so far that hope no longer knew how to find them. He hadn't always been this broken. Years ago, back in the dusty outskirts of Phoenix, Marcus had been the kind of kid people described as warm, full of light. His mother, a soft-spoken woman named Caroline, used to tell him he carried peace the way others carried breath. But when she died suddenly during his junior year of high school, that light faded. Grief hollowed him out, and in the years that followed, he filled that emptiness with the wrong friends, the wrong choices, and eventually, the wrong addictions. His younger sister Natalie had tried to help, begged him to find his way back, but he pushed her away. When a church group reached out offering counseling, he ignored the calls until they finally stopped. Now the trailer he lived in wasn't home, just a consequence. A place forgotten by the world, where no one noticed the slow unraveling of a man who had convinced himself he didn't deserve to be saved. But that night, as thunder cracked open the sky, something shifted. It wasn't a dramatic revelation. It was exhaustion. Marcus was tired, of running, of hurting, of pretending he didn't want more than survival. With a breath that shook his whole body, he zipped the duffel bag, stepped into the freezing rain, and began walking toward the highway. He didn't know where he was going. He only knew he couldn't stay. Miles away, a small diner called Harper's Mill glowed through the storm like a lantern in the dark. Marcus remembered it from months before, a place where the coffee was cheap but the kindness was real. Soaking wet, he pushed open the door. The warm bell above him jingled, and June Whitaker, the middle-aged waitress behind the counter, looked up. Her expression softened instantly. She remembered him, the young man who seemed lost yet had thanked her with a sincerity she didn't forget. She didn't ask questions. She simply brought him a hot cup of coffee. That simple act of kindness, the kind he never believed he deserved, hit him harder than any harsh word ever had. While his hands warmed around the cup, Marcus noticed a flyer taped near the register. Newbridge Haven Shelter. Hot meals, heated beds, counseling, faith-based programs. The kind of help he had always been afraid to accept. Shame tugged at him, fear too. But deeper than those was a small, almost childlike whisper inside him, the echo of his mother's voice telling him he still had time to turn back toward the light. By dawn the storm had faded, leaving the world washed clean. Marcus stepped outside, feeling a little less alone, and walked toward the shelter. When he arrived, a tall man with warm eyes, Pastor Reed Dolan, greeted him like he'd been waiting for him. No judgment, no disappointment, just welcome. The days that followed weren't easy. Withdrawal shook him, guilt strangled him, nights stretched long and painful as he lay awake on a narrow cot listening to others fight their own battles. More than once he thought about running again. But every morning, Reed checked on him. June stopped by with pastries. And a young volunteer named Rachel encouraged him gently, reminding him that brokenness didn't cancel the possibility of redemption. One afternoon, Marcus wandered into the small church connected to the shelter. It was empty except for a single candle glowing near the front pew. The stillness was overwhelming. He sank to his knees and let the weight inside him break open. He cried, for his mother, for Natalie, for the man he had become, and the man he still hoped he could be. The peace that settled over him wasn't dramatic. It was soft, steady, like grace finally finding a place to land. With time, Marcus began helping around the shelter. Serving meals, fixing old furniture, sweeping floors. Every small task reminded him that he still had purpose. Eventually, he gathered the courage to write to Natalie, a long, honest letter filled with regret and hope. When her reply came, full of love and cautious forgiveness, Marcus wept. He found work with a construction company. Saved money. Attended church. The day he moved into a small apartment, June brought him pie and Reed prayed over the new beginning. Years later, Marcus stood before a room of newcomers at the shelter, people carrying the same shame he once carried. He told them that redemption doesn't arrive all at once. It comes in small mercies, quiet kindness, and the courage to take one more step, even when the darkness feels endless. And when he finished, he saw Natalie at the doorway, volunteering beside him, smiling with pride. Marcus realized then that the miracle wasn't simply surviving his worst days. The miracle was learning to live again, to forgive himself, and to believe that grace still had room for him. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Your support helps us keep creating stories that inspire and uplift.